the scenery of this place is just unbelievable. It's worth it for that. It's worth it just for that. So what are we doing in the north coast of Scotland? Well, we're investigating the North Coast 500, a collection of driving routes around this incredibly scenic area of the UK, which have been connected together to make the ultimate driving traverse. We're going to be checking out 2 sections of this route to see if they're really worth the hype, and then one further route close by that could easily be a better driving road. The question I've got though is it worth the long trek up here? I've driven for 9 hours and we're incredibly spoiled in Britain to have some absolutely immense driving experiences to choose from. We can go on track days, we can go on off-road tours. There are so many other driving experiences to choose from if you happen to live in the soft old south. So why come here, and is it worth the pain and hassle? So one thing is immediately clear: it is incredibly narrow but incredibly beautiful. We've come at exactly the optimum time of year. It's November almost, late in October, and naturally the weather is cold, the weather is rainy, the weather is exactly everything that you would expect it to be in the northwest of Scotland at this time of year. If you're going to come and do this section of road, get used to this, passing traffic coming the other way. And it's important to remember, if you want to drive this route, it's not a track day. It's not a driving experience day. This is not a flat out experience whatsoever. This is part of the British road system that people who live in this area are using for a day-on-day basis. That means expect to meet people, equipment, vans, transit, all coming in the other direction. So that really prevents you from absolutely getting your toe down. It's a scenic drive, but as scenic drives go, it's a pretty impressive one. In summary then, this Bialik Pass is in no way a high-speed experience, and if I really wasn't confident in this car that Brooksy's put together, or confident in my driving, having done a little bit on mountain roads, I'd be hyperventilating pretty heavily right now trying to make my way up this pass. You've got to take your time, look at the scenery and enjoy it. Unless you're Petter Solberg, you're not going to be breaking any lap records. But at the same time, there's great joy in it, using cars to the maximum of your and their ability and taking in some of the world's best scenery. It's so easy to forget that landscape this beautiful exists in the United Kingdom. We're blessed to have it, and I, for one, I'm definitely going to be up here on my own time. I'm not overly confident to say that this is a high-speed run. You've got to pick your battles up here. The elevation change is huge. The road is very tight indeed. You've got to try to find areas areas to pass the cars that are coming in the other direction, and be really strategic about how and when you do so. It must be said though, everybody is extremely considerate, whatever direction they're coming in order to make sure that we all get around the areas of the road safely. You'd also not want to be coming up here in anything too sporting that doesn't have the lock. You could find yourself in a hell of a muddle in these hairpin turns and passing places if you came up here in something that simply couldn't make it. You want to have a little bit of power and you want to have a little bit of traction, because these routes require a decent amount of both even to make it up. This M3 with a significant number of horses in second gear is feeling the incline as I'm making my way right up to the top of the route. It's really chugging as I make my way through these hairpin turns. I'm gonna need first, am I? Blimey! Let's talk about this machine then. Lent to me by Formula E commentary maestro Tom Brooks. This particular example slightly lowered, a little bit of a tweak to the braking system as well, but apart from that it's absolutely stock. Incredibly, inconceivably, you can pick one of these up for under 20 grand at the moment on the British motoring market, and what a machine it is for that. The steering is so nimble and light. The gear selection, relatively long in the throw, but incredibly accurate and still beautifully notchy, despite this being an 85,000 mile, relatively leggy example. Brakes have had a bit of a tweak, but they're so dexterous with decent feel. And I just can't believe the low speed grip this thing's got. That must be the most picturesque landscape I've seen so far. Day 2 of our North Coast 500 recce, and it's a bit more like it. The run between Ardevreck Castle and then the Kylesku Bridge, which is about 15 minutes of utterly awesome driving roads. The route we're now going to take heads off right from this road, which is utterly brilliant, and heads way off towards the famous bridge, which is a bit of a picture postcard moment. It's very much from the brochure of the North Coast 500, and goes past the Wailing Widow Falls, which producer Louis has rather picked out as a bit of a hidden gem of this driving route that not many people get to see. And that's because you have to, shock horror, get out of your car in order to catch the falls, which are apparently very picturesque. So we're going to drive along there, jump out, have a look at the waterfall, carry on and try and get some shots across the Kylesku Bridge, and then stop off again at the Ascent viewpoint. And I know there is going to be a Scotsman absolutely slating my pronunciation of all of these names, so you must know that I'm doing my best. Another mountain pass, but with much better road conditions. I don't have the concern as to whether I'm going to find a pothole around the next corner and damage the car as I head off up through these roads and knock it back a cog in this tight right-hander. The run over the hill at Bialik had me concerned that around the next corner would be an impassable stretch, but not so on the way to the Kylesku Bridge, where I can kind of get on with it a little bit more. As in Bialik, the scenery is just utterly stunning here. We picked a great time of year to come. Autumn with beautiful autumnal colours all around the highlands. Wow, look at this, downhill sections. Oh my God, that landscape is unbelievable. That must be the most picturesque landscape I've seen so far, the whole of the 500 route. That is astonishing. I tell you what, however much you want to whiz around and enjoy the roads, the scenery is the star of the show. It really is. Another unbelievable lock. Look at that. Fabulous stuff. Guardrail on the outside to stop me toppling in. Back up the hillside again. Still on this kind of grumbly old road surface, which delivers a lot of grip, but it gives you a lot of road noise, particularly in this early 2000s M3. And this must surely be the bridge we're thinking of. Opened by Queen Elizabeth in 1982. A deep sea bridge over this lock inlet. Quite the thing. You can hear the wind whistling over the bridge. Stunning views. See if I can poke the nose of the camera over the lock. Let's have a look at the bridge as well, shall we? Quite the feat of engineering. A monster of British engineering. The Kylesku Bridge. This is pretty friendly. Oh, it was, until I started to come down here. So, we're on our way back towards the border for England. And if you've done the North Coast 500, as we've done certain sections of it, producer Louis, in his infinite wisdom, suggests a quick stop off. So we're heading off from the absolutely lovely town of Braemar down towards a viewpoint for what used to be known as the Devil's Elbow, one of, theoretically, the most feared sections of road in the UK back in the 50s and 60s because of its steepness and its difficulty. So much so that if you were to ride a bus from Glenshee to Braemar, or indeed the other way round, you might be asked by your bus driver to get out and push the bus up the hill. Such was the severity of the sequence of hairpin turns that formed the Devil's Elbow. Luckily for us, it's now been straightened out, so it's going to give us an opportunity to enjoy what, according to the boss, is one of the best roads in the UK. And there are several reasons you might come down to this stretch of road beyond the fact it's utterly brilliant to drive. There are several other reasons why you might come down here to enjoy this road. Balvenie, Macallan and Glenlivet, three of the signs I strenuously ignored on my way down here. And while I'm not suggesting a specific pastime, I'm sure you get the idea. As get down towards the old military road proper, it opens up into this glorious valley, loving these Alpine sticks to show us which way the road goes in all conditions. A little bit wet on the ground, but it's a better road surface than you get up right high in the Highlands at the northwest side of Scotland. There's some great tourist spots around here, some beautiful roadways, but make sure you check whether the roads you want to actually use are open. All the way down here, there were signs giving specific periods of time at which the roadways would be open and closed, because I think they get relatively hefty snowfall. Honestly, this rivals the North Coast 500. Louis is definitely right about this one. It's a different vibe. You don't feel quite so secluded, and the town of Braemar is actually pretty smart and posh, as you would imagine, with the castle of Balmoral not too far away. But this road is just glorious. Corner after corner, well sorted out, not a pothole to be seen. Wet on the road just brings this little Braemar alive. I'm really enjoying myself. This is effectively a blue run to the North Coast 500's black run as I pass the ski centre as if to prove a point. It's a little bit more open, it's a little bit easier going, but I don't have to worry about where I'm going to stay, where I'm going to sleep. Maybe bringing the sort of Highland accessories that I need just in case I have an issue, you know, in terms of survival. But at the same time, I'm getting to have a bit of a blast around some corners. It might be considered one of the most feared roads in the UK of old, but in its current iteration, this is pretty friendly. Oh, it was, until I started to come down here. Wow, that is somewhat of a decline. They told me this road gets serious halfway down, and I'm starting to believe them. 12-degree gradient, 5th gear. The car is picking up speed without me being on the accelerator. I'm gonna have to ride the brake down here to keep it within the speed limit. Keeping a low gear, that's a good plan if you're in a truck down here, and goodness me, that's a steep decline downhill. Very much these big old rolling hills, very much indicative of this area, aren't they? You saw them, or I saw them as I was driving down here. Continuing on this, very much the North Coast 500 on easy mode. Get your toe down a bit. Kind of a road for if you've bought a fabulous machine. If you don't really want to take it down the rough and ready roads of the Highlands and you just want to come here, you know, blast away at a relatively flat and simple route and enjoy yourself, then I can recommend it. What a road this is turning out to be. Okay, first bit's blue run, second bit is a lot of fun. So we've reached the end of the tour of Scotland, and my question when I came here was, could this be so much better than the driving experiences that you have available to you much closer to home if you're British based? I couldn't believe that it could be that much fun in comparison to a track day, a four-wheel drive experience, just to drive around a good road near you. But I'm totally converted. Initially, single track roads, a lot of traffic, difficult weather, I wasn't sure. But driving around here for 3 days, even the roads to the roads where we've aimed to come and film are something else. The colours, the scenery, the people that you meet who are just so friendly and pleasant, the consideration on the roads, everything's about it is incredible, and I'm converted, honestly converted. Or if you haven't come up here and you're into your cars and you like driving, then put it on the bucket list, because it's worth it. I wouldn't have believed it was worth the hours I drove to get up here just to come and thrash around these roads, but it really is. And this thing has made it. What a car this is. It's been the perfect car to bring here. Just enough power, just enough grip. Manual gearbox. It's been tough as old boots on the roads, and look at it sitting there. We've not cleaned that and it still looks utterly, utterly gorgeous. Sat there down by a babbling river. Not the only one that's babbling, so I'll let you go. What a brilliant trip.